Boom, what's up, familia? Dayspring here with an episode of Power of X-Men, where we are going to discuss today's announcement of X-Men Hellfire Vigil #1. I'm assuming this is a one-shot. I first saw the cover on Luciano Vesicchio's Instagram feed, and I was like, did they announce something today? And I Googled it, and I was like, wait, before I read this, let me let me hit record just so you can get a spontaneous reaction. And the thing is, familia, I really want the X-Men books to succeed. I have been a reader of X-Men since 1994. Back when I got that first Fleer Ultra of Rogue, I picked up the Rogue miniseries, and from there, I started reading the Phalanx Covenant, Jim Lee era. I went into the back issues. I discovered Dark Phoenix, Inferno, and then Age of Apocalypse, and then Onslaught. So I have seen this franchise through Jim Lee to From the Ashes. So I care. I want these books to be good. I want people to be inspired. And I have to tell you, the other day when they released the Emma Frost Marvel Rivals trailer, and of course it showcases Krakoa and the Hellfire Gala, and I thought to myself, wow, that's how big the Hellfire Gala was in the comics. It not only inspired Marvel Rivals, but it had everyone on X, on social media, just really excited to see Emma Frost in action, and also the Hellfire Gala. And I thought to myself, if you remember, I did not like Hellfire Gala year 3, but there's no doubt it had an impact on the books. I didn't think it was well written. I thought it was a lot of cheap punching down literary tropes and tricks that I was just like, this doesn't make sense. It's just, you just wanted to massacre the mutants. This wasn't an authentic storytelling experience, but that's fine. Listen, I have said the same thing about House of M. I think if you go back and read the original House of M, it is not a very well-paced, well-written story, but that does not mean it does not age nicely within the canon of the Marvel universe. So my larger point here is, when I saw the trailer for Emma Frost in Marvel Rivals, I was like, I wonder if they're going to do the Hellfire Gala again in the comics, given the popularity. And here we are. Not that I think this is a reaction to Marvel Rivals, but I think if I was a Marvel publishing head and I saw that the Hellfire Gala had all of this traction and my books weren't landing well with readers, I'd be like, okay, let's go back to the Hellfire Gala. So, let's see where this goes. I always think I'm always going to be a die-hard person that believes that the books should lead the charge and all the other surrounding media should be in reaction to that. So just because the Hellfire Gala is doing really well in Marvel Rivals doesn't mean I think we should revisit it necessarily in the comics. But, at this point, everything is just so, interlaced and crisscrossed. But in an ideal world for me, the comic books are published and they're the best stories, finest quality, and the movies, video games, action figures adapt from there. So anyways, let us see what X-Men Hellfire Vigil #1 has in store for us. I wasn't too happy with X-Manhunt, as a lot of you know, and I was legitimately excited. I'm never not going to get excited to see like a really awesome cover and an announcement for like a one-shot or a title. I want these books to do well. I want people to go into comic book stores. I was at my local comic book store, which is Midtown Comics in the Financial District. That's my local comic book store. And I was there on a Friday night. First of all, I remember going to comic book stores Friday nights in the 90s and early aughts, and they were always packed. And it was so empty in Financial District in Manhattan. I was just so sad when McNally Jackson's, which is a bookstore just a block or two away from it in the Seaport, was packed. And then here's Midtown Comics, just not packed. I was so sad. So I want people to get into comic book stores, and I want this to be good. Marvel, make this good, please. Even after I said I am done with X-Men comic books, following X-Manhunt, I am still coming back. I am still coming back. I will come back and I will read this. Just let it be good. Okay. This released today. X-Men Hellfire Vigil #1 remembers the dreams of Krakoa. This July, Mutant Kind's biggest night returns in X-Men Hellfire Vigil #1, a new Hellfire Gala comic book one-shot written and drawn by an incredible lineup of current X talent. Okay. So I guess we're coming back to the Hellfire Gala. I guess we're gonna have that's interesting. It's supposed to be a vigil. I'm thinking like a remembrance of what was lost because technically everyone is alive and well following the Hellfire Gala. I mean, some people are here, other people are in the White Hot Room. Who knows? Right? It's just all nebulous. By the way, I love the White Hot Room, and Marvel has ruined the White Hot Room for me. It just does not make any sense. Anyways, it originated with Grant Morrison, which we are covering on the podcast. We're covering New X-Men on the podcast. Okay, let's dive into this. The Hellfire Gala, a now iconic X-Men event, is back this July in X-Men Hellfire Vigil #1, a giant-sized one-shot written and drawn by current creators of the X lineup, including Jed McKay, Gail Simone, Eve L. Ewing, Luciana Vejico, Javier Garron, Sarah Pichelli, and more. The annual gathering will strike a different note this time around, with Mutant Kind gathering to reflect on the loss of the mutant nation Krakoa. I think Krakoa is coming back. They're talking about Krakoa too much. I mean, they've seen how disappointed people are with From the Ashes, and they're like, hey, we're still talking about Krakoa. The seed, literally, the last seed is out there. Krakoa could come back. You know, I just think about what Tom Brevoort said about how he thought, oh, everyone's thinking after Krakoa, we're going to go back to the mansion, but that's not true. We're going to do something different. I'm like, you should have gone back to the mansion. I mean, you had to. It was one of those things where you had to pick something. This whole thing of the X-Men being on the run, completely disjointed. It has worked in the past. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sully the idea of potentially having a good story, but you had the success of X-Men '97. You had the success of Deadpool and Wolverine. You have Marvel rivals. It is a good time to be an X-Men fan in other mediums. Why didn't the comic books just lead the charge and be like, okay, we're going to go back to the mansion? And again, the stories just don't make any sense. Some of these stories just don't make, like, X-Manhunt does not make any sense. Anyways, as they look back on the past, they'll reignite hope for the future, and readers can look forward to a night of joyous celebration, delicious drama, and of course, superhero high fashion. Woo! Okay. Like previous Hellfire Galas, the glamorous party will be filled with reunions, returns, and revelations, all setting the stage for the next year of X-Men storytelling. Every story that gets published is the next new mutant story that everyone needs to tune in because it's going to set the bar, right? X-Manhunt, giant size X-Men, now this one shot, everything. I don't understand why they can't just be honest and tell stories that sometimes are one shot. And by the way, Hellfire Gala, especially the first year, set up Arakko. I'm okay that big things happen. I mean, big things have happened at the Hellfire Gala always, but this hyperbolicness every single time. Again, the thing that I have come to realize is I don't think Marvel has aged with its readers. And I think I've discussed this already in a previous episode, but like, just level with your readers. Like, comic book readers we're a smart breed, especially X-Men fans. And I don't know comic book audience stats, but I'm just going to eyeball it as someone who's been collecting comic books for like over three decades. There are no kids in comic book stores anymore. Long gone are the days that you had someone like me who was 8 years old going into a comic book store and being like, "Oh, who is this rogue?" And I need to. That's not happening anymore. They're going to go see the MCU. So when you're talking to your comic book audience who are adults, start writing copy, start leveling with them. Like, your consumer wants to feel that they're in a trust situation, that you're not just trying to hyperbolically sell something to me. It's just my opinion. Always one of the most talked about comics of the year. Well, I mean, yeah, of course. Like, I don't think year two was as talked about, in fairness, this is me nitpicking. Of course, this is just me nitpicking. Obviously, again, like the third year, yeah, because it was a big event, and the first time because we were all excited, especially since we were all in lockdown for the first Hellfire Gala. We were all in lockdown, and we were all just dying to party, so that was fun. And listen, I do galas for a living. And I had a lot of qualms with how they did the run of show and sort of the execution. And I believe there was a line there that Bobby or someone was like, "Oh, I'll go buy you a drink." I'm like, "You're at a gala; it would be an open bar." But listen, this is all just nitpicking of the nitpick. So we'll move on. But always one of the most talked about comics of the year, the Hellfire Gala is now a beloved staple of the X-Men mythos, even inspiring the new season of the hit video game Marvel Rivals, and fans won't want to miss this bold new installment. Yeah, makes sense. Listen, again, I hate that comic books are in reaction to another media that's doing better. Again, I think a good comic book will inspire good action figures. It will inspire a good video game. It will inspire a good movie. So instead of being like, "Oh wait, they're doing what we did a couple years ago. Let's redo this again." But again, a comic book like this, I don't. Well, we're in April. Yeah, a comic book like this doesn't just appear out of nowhere. So they've been planning this for a while. 1 year ago at that final Hellfire, I hate how they age, like how they give a timeline on everything, right? The Hellfire Gala, we had three. We're assuming they were annual. They must have been annual. So now this is 4 years since Crickle started. The Marvel Universe has aged 4 years. You got to be careful with that. You got to be careful because it's not just the X-Men and X-Men comic books that you're aging, but you're aging the entire Marvel Universe. And again, if you were keeping track of it, if I had faith that editorial and Marvel historians were keeping track of it, I wouldn't have that big of an issue with it. Okay. 1 year ago, at the final Hellfire Gala, the dream of a unified mutant nation was forever shattered by a cowardly sneak attack by anti-mutant forces. To mark the moment and to proclaim loudly and strongly to all concerned that mutant kind still stands, the time has come for the X-Men of all stripes to come together in solidarity and celebration. Does that seem off though to you? Like I'd have to I'd have to read the issue, but it kind of seems weird that you would do a vigil and then have a red carpet and dance and celebrate. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. Of course, I do galas for a living, but they're never for like they're to raise money for something, and it turns into like an entire night with a run of show with live performances and stuff like that, but it's not called a vigil. Like when you do a vigil, and as we see here, like Storm, Emma, Rogue are all like, they're all dressed in black and they're all holding up lights or candles. I mean, a vigil is a very different thing. I don't know. I mean, I guess again, maybe it's because they're not dead. They're not really dead. They're in the white hot room. I don't know. Okay. Featuring the meetings and moments that fans have been asking for since From the Ashes began. What what have we been asking for? I'm just curious. I feel that we all have a pretty good ear to the ground when it comes to X-Men fandom, right? Because we're all part of it. We're all talking about this constantly. We're all connected to X-Men fandom 24/7. I can't tell you off the top of my head what meetings and moments that fans have been asking for, like Jean and Cyclops? Question mark. I don't know. Be there for a keystone moment marking the movement of one era into the next and setting up story threads that will play across the X line in the near future. Okay. I don't know what to say. I thought that's what Giant Size X-Men was supposed to do. I thought that's what Imperial's supposed to do. I thought that's what X-Men was supposed to do. I don't know. Like, what am I? I'm okay with this. Listen, I know I'm picking apart everything. I understand that. Trust me. I know how I sound here, but at the same time, I'm just like, Do I believe you? This sounds like a cool idea. Listen, I love style. I do. Okay. And look at Storm's outfit. Look at Rogue. Look at Nightcrawler with the pop collar. Look at Maggot. Look at Bronze. I'm starting to like Bronze, by the way. Look at Bronze. Look at Temper. Look at Kid Omega in the background. There's Glob's hand. I'm assuming this is Beast here. Iceman there. I'm good with this. I really am. Cyclops and Jean obviously in the back. I guess does that mean they're going to be off world? Luciano's art is beautiful, so I'm into this. I love how Storm's hair looks. I can get behind a Vigil that's also a star-studded event. I can totally get behind this. But do I believe that this is like? Am I going to have to? How much is it going to be? Like $6.99, and then nothing's going to happen? I don't know. I'm not trying to be pessimistic. Let's read this quote. Okay, so Tom Brevoort quote. We've been working towards the Hellfire Vigil for a year now. Okay. Okay. And all of the assorted X creators came together to make this moment of significance for the X-Men and their world as a whole. Executive editor Tom Brevoort explained. If you've been wondering when somebody was going to encounter somebody else, why is this their tagline here? The answer is right here in this book. It's a capstone to events that began in From the Ashes and sets up major movements, that will be playing out across the coming months. Plus, it's full packed with great art and great character moments. Okay. Let us know in the comments below who needs to be reunited. Again, I don't feel like any characters haven't been reunited. I mean, From the Ashes has only been around for like a year, so I'm not here saying like, oh, why haven't these two characters seen each other, because it hasn't been that much long of a time. But again, I'm just curious, like, I guess Destiny and Nightcrawler, but didn't they already come together in a short story, in a one shot, right? Maybe Cyclops and Jean. That's one I'm thinking of off the top of my head. Cable with Madeline. That would be nice. Cable and Maddie would be great. Okay. Listen, the art looks great. I'm always going to be sold on something. I feel like we're in this cycle now where it's like, hey, okay, you know what? Just when you thought I was leaving, actually, you know what? I want to stay for the Hellfire Vigil. Let's kiki. I don't know. I'm again, if this would have just been like the X-Men get together and they remember what was lost with Krakoa, characters are coming together. Phoenix is coming in from space. Storm and Emma are hosting. I could get behind it, but the fact that you're like telling me now this is setting up for so much and you need to read this, it's like, that's what you said about X-Manhunt. That's what you're saying about Giant Size. Again, Giant Size X-Men, the celebration that's coming out in June, that hasn't even published yet, and now we already have another crossover that is supposed to set up everything. I don't know. How do I feel about the creators on this? Well, let's see. I love Jed MacKay. Love Jed MacKay since Moon Knight. I think his X-Men is pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Obviously, a lot of callbacks to Morrison. And Jed MacKay, for me, is a solid writer. Such a solid writer. Always happy. I feel like I get a lot from his issues. E-Viewing, this is an Exceptional X-Men, hasn't been my favorite, but you know, the more I've meditated and read reviews as to why Exceptional X-Men has landed very well, I think they're really good character moments. And I think if you're going to write a Vigil issue, I think you want a writer like Ewing in your corner. Jason Lowe, obviously, we love very much. Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. Hey, you know, when I say I eat my words on things like NYX, I eat my words. I'm happy to eat my words because I thought NYX with the X-Manhunt crossover were some of the strongest points in that story, you know? And the first couple of issues of NYX were good. I'm not looking forward to what they're doing with the 50th anniversary celebration, but that doesn't mean they're not good writers. We have Storm and Phoenix creatives on here too. I think Storm is written very beautifully. Phoenix, I think she also has a good grasp on the character. But I think with the Phoenix story, I'm kind of ready for the book to go somewhere. It's a little too MCU coded for me. I'm not a big fan of Uncanny X-Men. Gail Simone is a legendary comic book writer, but I feel Uncanny X-Men is falling short. I know there are people out there who love it, and I'm not taking that away from people who love it, but I think it could be better. I think it could be leading the charge. It's just not stand out enough for me. That's sadly how I feel. I'm sorry about that. But in terms of the art, Sarah Pichelli, I don't know how to say her name, even after I've been corrected countless times. But listen, I'm a huge Sarah Pichelli fan. Love her work so much. We obviously love Luciano, Neto Diaz, love it. Javier Garron, all good stuff. Let's see where it goes. Let's just see where it goes. I'd be curious to see how everything goes. I'm shocked that Tom Brevoort, who has a very robust Substack, gave such a generic quote, but I get it. This is going on Marvel.com. Are these... Oh, look at these variant covers. Okay, now we're talking a little bit. Let's look at some of these variant covers here. It's obviously the main cover. Okay, here it is. Ooh, Emma's outfit really doesn't look that good. I don't like... I don't know how I feel about these. This is not the best shot. Is that Cyclops back there? Cyclops is wearing like a white shirt. No, that's Kid Omega. Sorry. Kid Omega. Okay, fine. That tracks for Kid Omega. I think it's Kid Omega. Is that Kid Omega or Cyclops? Which one is that? Emma looks horrendous. Emma looks so bad. She looks like she's going to prom in 1998. The costume for Storm looks good, but I don't know. It looks weird. Magneto, what is up with Magneto's helmet? It looks so big. So this looks like his Ultimate X-Men costume. His helmet looks big there. Why? Rogue, that's ugly for Rogue. Too simple for Psylocke. Psylocke would wear something a little bit more fashion forward, I would hope. Logan looks fine. Neither here nor there for Logan. Neither here nor there for Logan. Okay. Is that it? Or are those the only covers? Okay, wait. We have one more. There's Emma. She looks like Emma in the X-Men anime. That's what she looks like here. The anime, like with the white top and like the skirt that she has in her first couple episodes. That's what, and especially like the hair tied back and some of like the bangs in the front. Exactly like Emma in there. All right, familia, you let me know your comments below. Hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell. Let us know. Are you excited for this? We will catch you all later.